dump information on me, because one thing about us writers, as someone who writes, we're gonna talk, hence why I have a book channel. I have a channel and a mic in my hand because I love to yap. Certified yapper. Ask my boyfriend, he'll tell you every time. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Nira. If you're not, welcome back. Today's video is basically going to be, I would say, a challenge video in a way. I'm pretty much trying to get myself out of a reading slump. When I finished the last book that I talked about in my last video, I read it within like 2 days. And then I started trying to read this other book. I think it's by Emily Henry. It's called The People We Meet on Vacation. And I was going to read it with the intentions of watching the movie, and I still haven't. It's literally in my bag, but I haven't read it. And I read like the prologue. That was it. That's all I did. And it just wasn't enough. It literally was not enough to get me back out of my reading slump. So today's video is pretty much just going to be a challenge of me reading every day for 2 hours and trying to finish this book. So the book that I'm starting with, and if you didn't watch my last video, which is my February TBR, you should go watch it. I'm going to link it up here or link it down below. But I'm going to start with this book, which is 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. I want to start with this book because this book is like recommended by any Black booktuber, book talker, bookstagrammer. It doesn't matter what it is. This is like one of the books that gets mentioned all the time when it goes to reading. I know that this book tackles mental health and disability, and it is a Black love story. And if I don't remember, I think it's like a ex-lovers to lovers book from what I think it was when I read the like synopsis. So I feel like it's something I would enjoy, especially as somebody who struggles with mental health. Hence why literally this back thing says don't forget the happy thoughts. And I think this would be a really good book for me to read and start off with. My goal is to read essentially 7 chapters every single day, because the goal is to try to be done with this book by either Wednesday or Thursday. Depending on how the chapters read, how quickly I read, we can go from there. But while I'm doing this reading, I will be writing in my journal. So I did start, and I would read after every chapter. I would record on my phone, like, you know, me pretty much reciting what I read. Sometimes that got a lot and it was taking up space on my phone. And I don't feel like going back and like listening to all of them. I can admit it's laziness. I think maybe if we go back to writing in an actual like journal, maybe it'll help do that. So every time I get to like that 30-minute mark, I'll stop and write in my journal. This journal was originally supposed to be used for my like what's it called? I did the Artist Way book last year. Morning pages. This is what this is supposed to be for. And I actually did do a few morning pages in here. And then I finished the challenge, and then I just never went back to doing it. I actually finished the entire journal that looks exactly like that one in its complete entirety. So I know it's possible, and I think maybe if I write these down, what I'm reading, it'll be easier for me to remember what I like essentially read, but then I can also write legit book reviews. I think that'll be fun for me, and I maybe can work on my penmanship because it is god awful. It sucks. My penmanship is horrifying. So that's what we're gonna do, and I'm gonna take you through every single day of me reading for 2 hours this entire video, and you pretty much this is gonna be an accountability. But here's the other part to this. I'm gonna start a book club on Fable. So if you don't have Fable, you should use it. This is not sponsored by any means. I love using Fable. Pretty great. I know there's people who are like, oh my god, it uses AI. Almost every app that we use now at this point uses AI. So you can't really get around it. Just don't use the things that have AI in it. As someone who has used AI and used it to create things that I needed to create for class, and before you go, oh my god, that's cheating, it's not, and it's a different conversation that I can have on another day. But I like using Fable. It's a great app. You can also have book clubs and talk about different things and read with other people. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start a book club. This is the first book, and if you want to read it with me, you can go down there. We do not have to read it at the same time. It can just be a book that you can read, and then once you finish it, you can discuss how you felt about it in the book club, and it'll just be another way for me to interact with you guys and connect with you guys and connect with other readers as well. And I won't be just doing it with this book. I'll be doing it with all the books from my February TBR, and then I'll do it with, I'll continue it, and just every single book that I pick up is what I'll read, but I'll make it a disclaimer in it that you don't have to read at the same pace that I'm reading at. If you finish the book, talk about it, and then I'll just move on to the next book, because I know that I'm going to be reading something else. And then it's possible I might just make like a spreadsheet and be like, hey, these are all the books I plan on reading for this month. You can pick whichever ones you want to read, and then whenever I post about it, you can like respond. Well, no, I won't know. I'm going to work out all the kinks as we go. But you can follow me on my Fable, which is linked down below, and also join the book club. If you like videos like this and you want to see me reading books and taking you through a reading vlog, which I've already done once on this channel, please hit that subscribe button and like and comment, and let's get straight into the video. pretty much done my 2 hours. And if you think I'm lying, when I showed you guys my phone earlier, it was like 11 o'clock. It is 3, I don't think you see it. It's 3:32 now. That shows you that like I did actually read it. I am on chapter 13. So I've technically read 14 chapters of this book, which is insane to think about, the fact that I did that in 2 hours. And I can tell you literally everything that I read. That defeats the purpose. I'll talk about different things in the book at the end when I do like a full like book review of this. At this rate, I just want to preface this because I thought this video was going to be a little bit longer, but we might have to add another book into this video if I finish this like I think I am. If I decide to do the 2 hours tomorrow and I read 12 books like I did, 12 books? 12 chapters, essentially 13. I will be on chapter 25 of this book. There's 28 chapters, I think, total. If you include the epilogue and the prologue, I think it's only like 26. So far, I like it. That's all I'm going to say. I like it. We haven't gotten into any spice, but I like it. As of right now, my favorite character in the book, I would say, is Shane. And then it goes to our main, like, character, which is Ava or Guinevere. I think that's how you say her name. But Shane is my favorite character, which is weird because like you wouldn't think that he would be, but he is. That's all I'm gonna give you for now. I just wanted to give you guys an update. If that is the case, 9 times out of 10, I'll probably end up finishing this tomorrow, and then I'll probably have to pick another book to read, which isn't inherently a bad thing. It's just now I gotta look at the books that I have over there to read, and then who knows, I might just be done with that. That'll be it. We'll see. It just depends on what other book I decide to read and how many pages are in it, how many chapters, and what I can do efficiently to get it to work. But that is all I have for today. I did write in it. I wrote some quotes of it, and I wrote like 3 pages. I'm going to write the last page that I need to write of what I read for the last chapters, and then I'll be done for today in terms of reading. So yeah, that's all I have for now. So I'll see you guys tomorrow when I do 2 more hours of reading. Hi guys. It is Wednesday. No, it's not. I think I took a nap for too long and forgot what day it is. It's Tuesday. So I didn't read yesterday because I went to the gym. And when I came home, I was trying to do it, and then I realized how tired I was, and I was like, it's just not accomplishable for me to do. So I just said that I wouldn't. And originally I said I was going to lie to you guys and just be like, yeah, I did read. No, I didn't. I want to be honest here. I did not read. And I know I just broke the challenge rules by saying I was going to read for 2 hours every day, but that just didn't happen. And I mean, it didn't happen because I literally went to the gym yesterday and thought that I would be able to come home and work and like read, and that just didn't work. So today we're going to do our 2 hour of, 7 days in June. When we left off, I was on chapter 13. I think I was about to start. So if we do 2 hours, we good. But today I'm going to do it a little differently. I'm doing it in increments of 30 instead of trying to read continuously for 2 hours. I feel like it's a little bit more achievable for me to do it that way, and it doesn't feel like such a daunting task to be like, okay, I have to sit in this one area for 2 hours and read. And granted, I'm literally going to read in my bed because that's the only place I read it. But we're going to read. It'll just be different. I don't know if I'll finish the book today. I highly doubt it. We'll probably have one more day, which is probably Thursday, because I'm not going to read tomorrow, because I know when I come home from the gym, that's the last thing I'm going to think about is reading. I just want to put that out there that I will not be reading it tomorrow. So if we don't finish it today, y'all will see me maybe Thursday. Probably, I don't know. We'll see. Because we'll see. I have plans. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully we can finish it today. But that's what I want to tell y'all. So let's go ahead and get started and start reading this lovely book. And I'm really sorry for the lighting. I'm literally filming this in the evening. And I'm not going to hold you. I'm being lazy and don't feel like plugging up my studio lights. So just bear with me, please. Bear with me. So it was a few days later of me filming this like essentially review slash like talk session about 7 days in June. And it's because I've been really busy. So that's why it's taken me a minute to do the film, like the ending of this. But I wrote out my talking points for the book. We're going to kind of wrap things up. I'm going to try to keep it short and simple, not go too deep into it. So let's get started. We're going to start with the characters. And it's really going to be, did the characters change at all? So I'm not going to go over all of the characters like individually. Some of them I'll group them together. And then there's others that I'll go more into depth. Ava, I would say yes and no. She's our main character, but I'm going to lean more towards no. And the reason why I said that is because we spent a good deal of the book like living in her head and her giving us like, oh, this is why I did this, X, Y, and Z. You really get to see like she hasn't really changed from her teenage self, which a lot of this book is going back and forth between her being a teenager and what she experienced as a teenager, her being an adult in the current like life, which is where like the book is taking place. She doesn't change much. She's still very insecure. She's still very codependent, but like she still has like a form of self like sufficiency as well. Like she can live on her own if it really came down to it. Like if she didn't have a kid, she would be just fine. But at the same time, she does have a codependency on people that are in her life in various different ways. I will say this, her storyline is very similar to generational trauma, specifically in the Black community with Black women. Lots of times when Black women have kids, and this is not for everybody, especially with the newer generation, there are traits that we take from our mother that they took from their mother and they give it to us. And then it's just a cycle that just never breaks until someone decides like, hey, this isn't a life that I want to live anymore. So let's do something. And unfortunately, I feel like Ava is still like playing into the generational trauma. And I don't want to go into much detail because I don't want to spoil the book for people who want to read it. She does it a lot with her daughter, Audrey, and she thinks that she's helping her, but in actuality, she's hurting her. She has some very unrealistic expectations of her, and sometimes it felt like her love for Audrey was very transactional. Like if Audrey did X, Y, and Z, then Ava felt very proud and very loving. But like if Ava did the opposite and didn't live up to this idea that she had created of her daughter in her head, she was like pissed off. And that's like, it's not like a jealousy of your daughter. It's like I want what's best for you and I know what's best for you, but you don't know what's best for yourself, which ends up being more harmful than it is helpful. The next character is Shane. Yes, he changed. You could tell that he was a different person. We find out very early on that he is an alcoholic and he's like, he's been sober. He's trying to like right his wrongs. He understands that like what he did while he was like, a drunkard was not the best. That's how he became famous. It was his way of coping. And he understands that he has hurt some people in the process of doing this. I liked his character immediately. I talked about this earlier in the video that I loved his character. I've honestly kind of found his character a little bit more interesting. I would have loved to know more about his backstory, and when we did find out a little bit about it, it made more sense as to why he acted the way he did about certain things. And he also takes accountability for his actions. Like there was no like, oh, shoulda, coulda, woulda. It was like, no, I did what I did and I'm sorry. The reasoning that he did a lot of the stuff is because of his childhood. He grew up in a very unstable home. So he's a reflection of his home life. And now he's trying to fix that. Towards the end, though, he started to get on my nerves because he was being a bit clingy. And you'll know what I mean if you decide to read this book and you read the epilogue. He gets real fucking clingy, and I no, I don't like that. I don't like it. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I expect that from a relationship that is built on codependency, essentially like escaping reality, because that's pretty much what the entire relationship dynamic was between Ava and Shane, was codependency and toxicity. But there was like a form of love that was very intimate for the two of them, which I'll talk about later. The next character is Audrey. Yes, she did change. She's a very smart young girl. She understands her mother's condition, but at the same time, I feel like she doesn't get the type of attention she deserves from her mother because her mother has like a disability and she has all this stuff going on. I really hate that Ava does lie to her a lot in this book. Like I said earlier, it's because she thinks she's helping her, but it really does hurt her. And secrets have they have a good habit of coming out the wrong time, and they end up hurting the people more than you think it would, and you just be better off just telling people the truth from the get-go instead of just lying about it. I liked her character. I feel like she was very realistic for a child, especially a preteen who is figuring out stuff, figuring out who they are, and she's in her rebellious era, and I felt like Ava Ava would have been a little bit more understanding as somebody who literally did the exact same thing when she was growing up. The next character is Lizette, which is Ava's mother. I don't like her. End of story. I don't like that hoe. I'm just gonna put it like that. I don't need to explain it. If you read the book, you'll understand why. Point blank simple. Now we have Cece, Belinda, and Khalil. I grouped them all together. They were okay. They were the group of friends that were pretty reoccurrent in the book. Felt really stereotypical at times. Like Khalil's a hotep. If you don't know what it is, it's basically a black man that's just like, he's just so black that like sometimes you question if it's like it's performative, and not 9 times out of 10 it is. I feel like hotep men see how far they can get with black women to push our buttons to see if they can control us, and then if they can't, they take it as a challenge. And I just don't like those types of men. They make me mad. DC, I don't like her. She was just a very pushy friend that had no boundaries. Like she just couldn't understand when people would tell her no, and I just didn't like her character. And even though her character wasn't mentioned a lot, she did have a small chapter in the book. I couldn't stand her character to me. And then there's Belinda. I feel like she should have been best friend. She acted more like a best friend to me, and her character was more interesting than Cece's character was. And the last character was Ty. I wish we saw more of him. We did get a chapter of his towards the end, but I wish we would have gotten something earlier in the book. I really hated how his story ended, but unfortunately it's very realistic to what happens to young black men. And he has something that a lot of black boys don't get, which is somebody they can look up to, which was Ty. Even though Ty wasn't the best example, he was somebody that actually listened to him and wanted the best for him. And lots of times black boys don't always have that in their corner. It was just a really sad situation. I loved how Ty's character was a parallel to Audrey's character, and I could do a whole entire video on how those two characters are like foils of one another, and it's a great representation of who they looked up to, like Audrey looking up to Ava and Ty looking up to Shane. Now plot and pacing. God. Were there plot twists, info dumps? Did it drag? There was a good plot twist towards the end. Well, it was really towards the end. It was just like placed in a really great place of the book. I feel like Tia did a great job of placing it where she did. At times we did get info dumps, but I mean, that's normal because Ava is a writer. So I expect my main character to dump information on me, because one thing about us writers, as someone who writes, we're going to talk. Hence why I have a book channel. I have a channel and a mic in my hand because I love to yap. Certified yapper. Ask my boyfriend, he'll tell you every time. Did the book drag? No. If you read it, the prologue gonna get you immediately. And there's lots of people that I saw on TikTok that were like, oh, I didn't like it. If the prologue didn't get you, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe you are reading boring books, because it wasn't boring to me. It was enough to make me want to keep flipping the page. I'll tell you that. Now we have themes and messages. What is the deeper ideas? I'm going to say now, trigger warning. You have tons of mentions of suicide attempts, drug use, mentions of sex, and almost sex SA. This book does a really great job of depicting mental health when like drugs are involved, because I feel like people think that mental health has to be displayed in a certain way, and then if it is not, then it's not like realistic. But everybody's version of mental health is going to be different. If I was to write about mental health, 9 times out of 10 it's going to reflect my story or somebody that I know, and I have the permission to like use their story to write something. And I feel like Tia Williams did a really great job. And in the black community, conversations about mental health is really taboo, because we aren't supposed to have problems, especially black women. We're supposed to be strong. We're supposed to be confident. And then when you do have those things, we get looked as lesser than, and then people like to throw around that word crazy. So then you don't get taken seriously anymore, because they're going to try to use your health issues against you. And we see that a lot in the book with Ava. She hides the fact that she has a disability. She hides the fact that she has a drug problem. And towards the, in the book, she starts to become more okay with like disclosing that this is what's going on. And it was also really heartbreaking have Ava have to hide what was going on, because of the fact that she didn't want people to think that something was genuinely wrong with her. And it's a great example of the expectations that black women have on them, and then if we don't match that expectation, then we've automatically failed. And I feel like it's not very fair to us. It's not. As someone who struggles with mental health and it's an everyday battle, I have bipolar disorder, depression, and anxiety. It is the hardest thing you can deal with, truly. And I talk about my mental health all the time, and I get told like, oh, well, don't call it that. Don't call it a mental illness. You shouldn't talk about it so freely and blah, blah, blah. I talk about it so freely because it's a part of me. When I wake up in the morning, I don't get the chance to try to turn this brain off and say, okay, not today. Today I won't deal with the depression. Today I won't deal with the obsessive thoughts. Today I won't be manic. I don't have that option. So why would it be right for me to just act like that part of me doesn't exist when I've had to come to terms with it at a very young age that I was not like everybody else? So I feel like Tia Williams did a really great job of it, and I hope that we can see more books explore the themes in this in a way that it's not stereotypical, but also just so chaotic that it doesn't seem like it's true in a way. Because like I said, not everybody's story is going to be the same when it comes to mental health and it comes to, overcoming drug use and drug problem. Everybody's different. And people think, when they think of drug use, they think of like a specific type of drug, and it doesn't always have to be that. The next thing is world building and settings. How immersive was the world? It was alright. It wasn't all that. I wish we would have seen more of Ava's house, the area that she lived in, and her comparing it to her childhood and the constant moving and things like that. I would have liked to see more of Shane's upbringing as well. It's mentioned, but we don't really get a lot about it. I feel like a lot of times world building is associated with like sci-fi and dystopian books, but never talked about in like just, normal traditional reading. I feel like authors need to really focus on the world building sometimes because it does make the reading more immersive to me. That's just me. I can't speak for anybody else. Emotional impact. How did the book make you feel? I felt a bunch of emotions. There were sometimes I was laughing my ass off, and the next time I was crying. There were sometimes I'd be pissed off because something just happened, and then other times I'm so shocked that I'm just sitting there with my mouth wide open. And granted, you guys didn't get to see that all the time because I have to be, cautious of how I'm filming. But it was a great book. I love the message that was there. I love how raw and authentic the characters felt, especially Ava and Shane. There are times that I did relate to a lot of the things that they talked about, because I think there was one point where Shane and Ava were having a conversation about like, doing life sober, and Shane was just like, I don't see how people could do this every single day, and Ava was like, yeah, me too. And granted, I don't have a drug problem, but like, I took it as like, I envy the people who don't have mental health issues because they get to just live life however. But like, as someone who struggles with all of my mental illnesses, I don't get to do that. So it's really hard for me to explain to somebody that's never experienced a manic episode or a depressive episode or a panic attack or anxiety attack. They don't know what the daily life is like because they constantly think that we're like that 24/7, and that's not always the case. Now, this is the part that everybody's been waiting for because I talked about it in my other video that I posted last week, just for my February TBR. What was the spice rating? I give it a 3 to like 4 stars. I would say around like maybe 3.5, 3.75. The reason I say that is the spice that we did get in this book, it wasn't how it is in the other book that I told you about, Only for the Weak. That one was like constant spice. This one was like, it matched what was going on at that point in the plot. Their level of intimacy was very different because it was a representation of the characters and who they are. There was a level of sensuality and intimacy that was there, and you felt that when you read it. It wasn't just this, oh, I just want to be aroused and I'm going to mention all of these like, body parts to try to stimulate people who read, the smut, the erotica. They read those things because you're used to, but sometimes that's not always important. Sometimes it's about oh, he caressed my arms and goosebumps, arose. I've felt the electricity and it's been years since this has happened, yada, yada, yada. It was great to me. I know there's probably more spice out there, but to me, I feel like it was spicy, but not like so spicy that it was raunchy, if that makes sense. Now, the moment that you guys have all been waiting for. What is the overall rating? It's a 4.5. Yay! I know you're gonna be like, oh my god, Janera, you rated your last book like a 4. Yeah, this was a 4.5. I could say really 4.75, but 4.5. I think I put on Fable, I put it as a 5-star. But realistically, it's like a 4.5. It was good. I liked it. I would definitely read it again. There were things that were in the book that I probably didn't notice the first time, and I would like to do it. Honestly, I could see myself truly writing paper about this book and maybe even finding like movies or something that is very similar to it because it was great. I loved it. There are people who didn't like it. I think honestly, I feel like a lot of people didn't like it because of the fact that it did have some cultural references to current society and pop culture. And then people don't want to be honest. Sometimes they don't like when people talk about mental health. Just people don't like hearing that. They don't like reading it. And unfortunately, I feel like that's why a lot of people didn't like it. And then when you mentioned spice, I think people thought it was going to be extremely raunchy because it was ex-lovers and because it wasn't as raunchy as they wanted it to be. I think a lot of people rated it lower. But that's just me. But if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell notification button so you get notifications every time I post. I had so much fun filming this video. I had so much reading this book. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. It's been so much fun filming and talking to you guys and reading. And I will see you guys in the next video. As always, remember to choose happy and be happy. And I will see you guys later. Bye.